In the heart of the ancient village of Odugby, there stood a tree no one dared touch. They called it Olúmọ, the Forbidden Grove. Its fruits glowed red under the moonlight and whispered in voices only the greedy could hear. Many feared it. None approached it. Until one girl did. And what she birthed would haunt the land for generations to come. This is the story of Akanni, the girl who ate the forbidden fruit in secret, and of what grew inside her womb. The sun always rose gently over Odugby, painting golden patterns on the clay roofs and stirring the scent of palm oil and yam porridge into the air. It was a village blessed with rivers, rich soil, and strong traditions. Traditions rooted in the words of elders and the warnings of ancestors. The villagers believed in balance. They believed in spirits, both kind and wicked. But above all, they believed in boundaries. And none was more sacred than the boundary of Olúmọ, the Forbidden Grove. No child played near it. No hunter chased game into it. Even birds avoided its branches. They said the tree at its center was not of this world. That it sprouted on the night of a lunar eclipse, watered by the blood of a sacrificed king. Its fruits were round, crimson, and pulsed faintly in the dark like hearts waiting to be picked. The elders told the children, "Whosoever eats of Olúmọ's fruit shall carry not a blessing, but a burden the gods cannot lift." And so, for 100 years, the grove remained untouched. 2. The girl called Akanni. Akanni was the daughter of the village herbalist, a woman named Mojareo, who spoke to roots and leaves like they were her kin. Akanni was no ordinary girl. She was beautiful, yes, but also curious. Dangerously curious. Where others whispered stories and moved on, Akanni asked questions. Why is it forbidden? Who first said it was cursed? What if the fruit is not evil, but misunderstood? Her mother warned her with firm eyes and shaking hands. The fruit does not wait to be understood, child. It waits to be consumed. And then it takes. But Akanni was 17, restless, and often alone. Her mother was always in the forest gathering herbs. Her father had died long ago, and no suitor dared approach the daughter of a woman many believed consorted with the unseen. One night, while returning from the river, she passed near the Forbidden Grove, and she heard it. It started as a breeze, then as words. Soft, coaxing, rhythmic. Like a lullaby meant only for her. Akanni, Omo Mojareo, you are not like them. You are chosen. She froze. Her heart beat fast. She looked around. Who's there? She whispered. No answer. But she felt a pull. The wind twisted gently toward the grove. She could see the outline of the tree, the only one in the village with blood-red fruits that glowed without the sun. She ran all the way home. But that night, as she slept, she dreamed of the fruit. It appeared in her palm, warm and heavy. When she bit into it, the taste was sweeter than honey, but something bitter slithered underneath, like poison wrapped in gold. When she awoke, her lips were red. And the hunger began. For the secret return. Akanni tried to ignore it. She drank water. She chewed cola. She prayed to her ancestors. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw it. The fruit. Pulsing. Pulling. On the third night, she could no longer resist. The moon was full. The village had gone quiet. She snuck out barefoot, moving past sleeping goats and silent houses. Her feet knew the way, as if the grove had marked her. She crossed into the Forbidden Grove. And the moment her foot touched the earth beyond the tree's shadow, everything around her shifted. The air became thick. The trees whispered. The wind moaned. But the fruit glowed brighter. It dangled just within reach. She reached for one. The moment her fingers closed around it, the voices rose, wailing, chanting, laughing. But she couldn't let go. She bit into it. And then silence. Except for a single whisper. It has begun. She returned home before dawn. Her hands were stained red. She washed her mouth, scrubbed her nails, and told herself it was over. But 3 days later, she began to feel strange. Her appetite vanished. She slept too much. Her skin grew cold. And then her stomach began to swell. Her mother noticed. "You're with child?" Mojureo asked, fear creasing her voice. "No. It's not possible," Akanni said. "I've not known a man." Mojureo's face turned pale. She gripped her daughter's wrist and stared into her eyes. "What have you done?" But Akanni said nothing. The memory of the grove pressed heavy against her chest like a secret too thick to breathe. The village began to talk. Whispers spread faster than fire. "The herbalist's daughter is pregnant. She swore she was a virgin. It is not a child in her belly. It is something else." Mojureo called for Aya Olori, the oldest midwife in the village, a woman who had delivered babies for 5 decades. When Aya Olori placed her wrinkled hands on Akanni's stomach, she went still. She whispered something under her breath and stood. "I will not return," she said. "This womb holds not a child but a curse." And she left. Mojureo's hands trembled. She gathered herbs, burned incense, offered sacrifices. But Akanni's belly continued to swell, faster than any normal pregnancy. Within 2 weeks, she looked as though she was 9 months along. And then, the dreams began again. Voices, faces, blood, fire. A creature crawling through her veins, whispering through her skin. "Soon," it said, "we will awaken." On the 14th night since she bit the fruit, Akanni stood before a mirror made of polished gourd. Her eyes were red. Her veins shimmered beneath her skin. And as she lifted her shirt and looked at her swollen belly, something moved, not like a child kicking, no, like fingers, clawing from inside. On the 15th night, Odugby shook with fear. Akanni screamed louder than any woman in labor had ever screamed. Her voice echoed across the fields, making even the goats tremble. It wasn't the scream of pain. It was the scream of unmaking, as though something was being torn from reality itself. Her mother, Mojureo, locked the doors. She surrounded her daughter's mat with cowrie shells, bitter cola, ash, and crushed ogun leaves, everything she knew to bind evil. But it wasn't enough. Akanni's body jerked violently. Her eyes turned white. Her belly twisted unnaturally, like something was swimming inside her. At one point, her spine arched off the ground, suspended in the air. Mojureo knelt, chanting words forgotten by most, calling to her ancestors, pleading, "Egbi ima gbiami." Ancestors, do not let this be my end. But the ancestors were silent. And then, silence. Akanni gasped. The candle light flickered. And then, a gurgle. Whunk. Blood soaked the mat. And in the darkness, a child cried. Mojureo hesitated before looking down. The child had emerged, if it could be called a child. It had the shape of a newborn. But its skin was not fully human. Its flesh shimmered faintly like the fruit of the forbidden grove. It had no umbilical cord, only a spiral-shaped mark on its belly that pulsed red, in rhythm with Akanni's heartbeat. And worst of all, its eyes were open, and they glowed. It did not cry like a normal child. Its cries felt like whispers in the mind, like a voice behind your ear that was never really there. Mojureo fell back. What have you done, Akanni?" Akanni was half-conscious, her skin pale. She looked at her mother, then at the creature cradled between her thighs. "Is it a boy?" she whispered weakly. Mojureo didn't answer, because what lay before them was neither boy nor girl. That same night, strange things happened across the village. Chickens laid black eggs. A stream near the village turned the color of ash. A young boy woke up screaming, saying he saw a child with burning eyes walking through the sky. The elders gathered in secret. One of them, Baba Awatund, the seer, stood and spoke. "The fruit has been eaten. The curse has taken root. And what now walks among us is not of this world." They decided. The child must be found and destroyed. Mojureo knew what they would do. She wrapped the child in cloth made of jute leaves and whispered to her gods, "I do not know what you are, but I will not let them harm you. Not yet." She hid the child in the secret room of her herb hut, a room only she and Akanni knew existed. She lit a flame made from kola nut oil and placed 3 carved stones around it, protection stones from her great-grandmother's time. The child slept, but even in sleep its skin shimmered, and the spiral on its belly pulsed, like a heartbeat made of fire. Akanni recovered slowly, but something had changed in her. Her voice became softer. Her laughter came less. She began to speak to shadows. Sometimes she would hum the tune she first heard in the grove. Mojureo noticed. "That song, where did you hear it?" Akanni blinked, confused. "I don't remember." 3 days after the child was born, a goat died. Its owner found it twisted, its body drained of blood, with eyes wide open. Next to its body was a spiral burned into the earth. The villagers panicked. Then a young girl fell sick. Her body burned with fever. She cried that the baby with red eyes is watching me from the ceiling. Then the village well, its cleanest water source, began to bubble at night. No one dared drink from it. They returned to Baba Awatund. "Find the one who has brought this upon us," the people cried. "Cleanse the land." And Baba Awatund's bones told him the answer. The girl. The herbalist's daughter. She is the gate. That night, as torches lit the village paths and drums began to beat slowly in warning, Mojureo felt it in her chest. They were coming. She rushed to Akanni. "We must leave. Tonight. Before dawn." "Leave?" Akanni asked, cradling the wrapped bundle. "He's just a baby." Mojureo touched her daughter's face. "He's not a baby. He's a being. Something born of broken laws and forgotten curses." Akanni's eyes welled with tears. "Then why do I love him?" "Because it's not your love. It's his influence." Side footsteps approached. Drums stopped. Voices murmured. They were at the door. Mojureo whispered an incantation and threw a powder onto the flame. Smoke billowed thick and gray. The villagers burst through the door. But the house was empty. They searched. Nothing. Akanni and Mojureo were gone, vanished like mist at sunrise. But on the wall, drawn in what looked like blood, was a message. "He is not yours to kill." Far away, deeper than anyone dared go, Akanni, Mojureo, and the child hid beneath the canopy of the Forest of Echoes, a place even the elders feared. It was said the forest had no end, that voices lived there, and that those who entered did not always return the same. But Mojureo had no choice. "Here," she said, "they won't find us. But we may find what he truly is." As they built a shelter from branches and silence, the child slept peacefully. But that night, Mojureo dreamed of fire, of wings, of a spiral opening in the sky, and something stepping through it. The forest did not welcome them. It watched. Every night the trees shifted, groaning as though remembering old pain. No bird sang. No insect buzzed. Even the wind whispered in tongues Mojureo had never heard, a language of leaves and bones. Akanni built a small shelter from woven reeds and bark, while Mojureo set up charms along the perimeter. Still the forest pressed in. The child, still unnamed, never cried. He only stared. And the spiral on his belly now pulsed with a faint golden light. It never stopped, even in the dark. Akanni began to feel strange. "Mama, the forest speaks to me at night." "Don't listen," Mojureo warned. "It's not the forest speaking. It's him." On the 9th day in the forest, Akanni ventured near the stream. She saw a figure. An old woman, her skin pale as ash, her eyes hollow, sat by the water plucking fish bones from a bowl. She did not move as Akanni approached. "You've brought him here," the old woman said, her voice like cracked clay. "I felt his pulse in the roots." "Who are you?" Akanni asked, clutching the wrapped child tighter. The woman smiled, but her teeth were made of stone. "I was the last one. The last to taste the fruit. Before you. And I paid the price." She unwrapped a scar on her arm. In her skin was the same spiral, but faded and broken. "They told you not to eat it, didn't they?" Because it feeds not only your hunger, but his return. Who is he? Kenny asked. The old woman did not answer. Instead, she whispered something and dissolved into dust, scattered by a breeze that came from nowhere. And where she had been sitting was a carved wooden figure of a child with glowing eyes. That night, Akanni dreamed of the grove. But it was not green now. It was black. The trees wept sap like blood. The fruit glowed on the branches, but it was rotting from within. A voice called to her. Give him his name. Speak it, and he will become whole. She woke up screaming. Mojireo stood over her, eyes wide with horror. You heard it, didn't you? The name. Akanni nodded, her face pale. I must not say it. You must never say it. But the child had already changed. The spiral now glowed blue. He began to move unnaturally fast. He could climb trees before crawling. He whispered in his sleep. And the forest began to wither around them. Back in Odugby, nothing had improved. Crops rotted in the soil. Rivers reversed their flow. A child was born with eyes that wouldn't open, and when they finally did, she whispered one word before dying. He watches. The elders gathered again. Baba Awatund went into trance. When he awoke, he spoke only one sentence. She has entered the Echo Forest. We must bring her back before she speaks his name. And so, 5 warriors, the best in the village, were chosen to journey into the forest. Each carried a charm, a blade of ironwood, and a bag of sacred dust. None of them knew that the forest was already awake. On the 11th night, Mojireo awoke to the sound of singing. Akanni stood barefoot in the center of the clearing, her hair floating slightly as though caught in wind. She was humming the same tune from the grove. The child floated above the ground beside her, eyes glowing like twin suns. He wants a name, Mama, Akanni whispered, trance-like. He's tired of waiting. Mojireo grabbed her staff and chanted a banishment spell. The child turned to her slowly. He didn't speak, but Mojireo's nose began to bleed. She dropped her staff. Akanni, she whispered, voice trembling. You must fight him. Akanni blinked, came back to herself. She fell to her knees, screaming. He's inside me now. I can hear him thinking. At the edge of the forest, the first warrior entered. He called out for Akanni, but the trees swallowed his voice. Then a light appeared, a flicker of blue floating like a firefly. He followed it, until he stepped on a spiral burned into the ground. He turned to run, but roots rose from the soil, wrapped around his throat and pulled him under. His last scream was never heard. The forest accepted him. Only 4 remained. That evening, while Mojireo searched for herbs to protect them, the child crawled into Akanni's arms. He touched her face with one finger and whispered, not in her ear, in her mind, and the name echoed. Xanaroth. Her mouth opened. The trees froze. The animals stopped breathing. The spiral on her son's belly turned black, and she said it aloud. Xanaroth. The moment the name left her lips, thunder cracked across the sky. The earth trembled. Somewhere far away, a mountain split in half. The child smiled for the first time. Mojireo felt it instantly. She dropped her herbs, ran back to the shelter. What have you done? She screamed. The child now stood, not crawled, not toddled, stood. His eyes were pure white now. His voice echoed from nowhere. Now I remember who I am. The forest howled. Trees bowed as though in worship. The ground pulsed like a heartbeat. And behind the child, something began to take shape. A shadow without form. Mojireo knelt. We are too late. The moment Akanni spoke the forbidden name, Xanaroth, a ripple ran through the forest floor. Beneath the clearing, the ground cracked open, revealing a spiral-shaped hole that pulsed with dark energy. Mojireo watched in horror as the child stepped forward, now walking with eerie confidence. His eyes, once white, were now flecked with glowing crimson. He remembers, Mojureo murmured. He's opening the old gate. The spiral hole widened, revealing stone steps, ancient, cracked, and carved with symbols no living priestess dared to speak aloud. Xanaroth turned to Akanni. Come, mother. I will show you what you are. What we were meant to be. And against every instinct in her soul, Akanni followed him down. That night, while waiting alone in the clearing, Mojureo brewed a dangerous vision root potion. Her fingers trembled as she ground the bitter root, mixed it with ash and river sand, then drank it. Her vision blurred. Her body collapsed, and her spirit soared. She flew across the ages, through generations of Akanni's ancestors, watching them one by one. A woman cursed for dancing naked beneath a red moon. A boy who spoke in tongues before his first word. A midwife who gave birth to twins with scales instead of skin. All part of the same line. The fruit bearers, a voice whispered in the wind. Carriers of the womb gate. And finally, Mojureo saw the first woman. Her name was Ekideo. She ate the fruit. She birthed a god. And she was torn apart by it. And Mojureo saw Akanni. And the vision ended in a scream. Below the soil, the air was cold and wet. The torches along the stone walls lit themselves as Xanaroth passed. He led Akanni through a corridor of murals. One showed a woman holding a glowing fruit. The next showed her pregnant, glowing. The next showed the world burning, her child hovering over it with eyes of light and teeth like spears. That woman is Ekideo, Xanaroth said. Your ancestor. She birthed me once. You birthed me again. Akanni trembled. You mean? I'm part of a bloodline, covenant, a punishment. Xanaroth stopped at a black door carved from obsidian. Behind this door lies the truth of who I am, and who you will become. Akanni hesitated, but the door opened. Inside was a throne of bones. On it sat a decayed being, draped in feathers, eyes still glowing faintly. My first mother, Xanaroth said. She failed. You will not. Above, Mojureo awoke screaming from her vision. The forest was now a battlefield. 3 of the remaining warriors had arrived, but only 2 remained. One had been consumed by a vine that sang lullabies as it strangled him. Mojureo met the others near the spiral hole. He is below. And she's with him. We go down. The warriors nodded. They descended the stairs with weapons drawn. Mojureo stayed behind, creating a protective ring of salt, blood, and ash. If they fail, this ring is the last gate. Suddenly, from the trees, a beast emerged, a creature of shadow with no face. It spoke in Ekideo's voice. It is already too late. In the temple, Xanaroth placed Akanni's hand on the throne. Immediately, her body convulsed. Spirals appeared on her arms, chest, back, legs. Her eyes rolled white. She saw visions of worlds beyond, the ones that birthed Xanaroth. Worlds made of fire, glass, and bloodless gods. Xanaroth raised his arms and chanted in the first tongue. Awaken, O womb gate. Let the veil tear. The throne of bones glowed. The decayed being stirred. Then Akanni's mouth opened, and a second voice spoke through her. I see. I remember. Xanaroth, my son. The warriors reached the inner chamber just as the ritual neared its end. They did not hesitate. They charged. Xanaroth's shadow lashed out, killing one instantly. The second warrior pierced his side with a blade of firewood. Xanaroth screamed, but it was not a child's scream. It was a scream that shattered stone. Akanni fell to the floor, convulsing. The throne of bones cracked. Mojureo appeared behind them, having crossed the salt ring when the forest broke its own rules. The name was spoken, yes, she shouted, but the bloodline has not yet completed the ritual. She hurled a charm at Xanaroth's chest, stuck, burning the spiral mark. The child's body collapsed, but his shadow remained. As the light from Xanaroth's body dimmed, Akanni crawled forward. I see now, she whispered. The fruit was not cursed, the womb is. Every bearer in the bloodline had been marked, not as punishments but as portals. Xanaroth wasn't born from the fruit. He was summoned through the bloodline again and again, a god trying to return. And each woman who bore him became less herself and more of him. "You must end the line," Mojureo said softly. "You must choose never to bear again." Akanni sobbed. The decision was heavier than the mountain. But she nodded. "I choose the end." With one final chant, Mojureo ignited the floor with the sacred ash circle. The shadow screamed. It tried to flee into Akanni, but she resisted. "No more, Xanaroth. I am not your door." The throne of bones crumbled. Temple shook. And the shadow of the god was pulled downward into the earth, sealed within the spiral gate. The moment the last echo faded, the forest exhaled. Birds chirped. The river flowed. And for the first time in weeks, the child was gone. The curse was broken not with fire, not with blade, but with choice. The bloodline that should have ended, finally did. But in tales like these, peace is only borrowed. Because Xanaroth is patient, and not all fruit grows in daylight. Akanni lay on the temple floor, her arms tattooed with spirals now dull and gray. The earth was silent. Xanaroth's shadow was gone, and his name hadn't been spoken again. The forest felt lighter, as if it too had sighed in relief. Mojureo tended to the wounds of the last surviving warrior. "He's gone," she said softly. "You did what no woman in your bloodline could." But Akanni didn't smile. "No, something still grows. I feel it, in my bones." She looked at her belly. It was flat. But beneath her skin, something pulsed. 3 days passed. The village rejoiced when Mojureo returned, carrying Akanni with her. Many believed the curse was over. They danced. They sang. They slaughtered goats. But deep within the forest, where the spiral hole had collapsed into itself, something grew. It wasn't a child. It wasn't a monster. It was a tree. Had no leaves. Its bark was black and cracked. Its branches twisted toward the sky like screaming fingers. Birds refused to perch on it. And the wind never touched it. But from its trunk came the soft sound of breathing. That night, Akanni dreamed again. She stood in a field of spiral-marked women, each from a different century, each holding her own belly. At the center of them stood Ekideo, her face veiled in black silk. "You think the womb was the gate?" she asked. "The body is only a key. The lock is in the soil." Akanni turned. Behind her was the tree. But now it had one leaf. Red. Pulsing. Alive. "It's not over," Ekideo whispered. "He was never just a child." Akanni woke up screaming. And the leaf had fallen into her hut. The elder priestess saw the leaf and paled. "I thought I was done with this life," she said, voice shaking. "But this is not a birth. It's a return." She told Akanni the final truth, one only the oldest scrolls dared to speak aloud. Xanaroth was not merely born from the fruit. He was the fruit. A deity broken into seed form by the sky ancestors and scattered across time. Each spiral woman had unknowingly fertilized one part of him. Akanni's womb had borne his soul. But now, the tree was growing his body. "You can't fight what's already taken root," Mojureo said. "But maybe you can poison it." Mojureo began brewing the rarest potion of all, Ihur, made from ash of memory bark, snake blood wine, and the tears of a child who'd lost both parents. They found the child. They wept with her. And when the potion was complete, Akanni was told only this: "Drink it beneath the tree. Tell it your memories. And if your pain is strong enough, the roots will choke on it." Akanni traveled alone to the tree, bottle in hand. She drank. And she began to speak. Akanni knelt before the tree. She told it everything. Of how she ate the fruit because she wanted power. Of how she hid her pregnancy and lied to those who loved her. Of how part of her loved Xanaroth, even as he became less her child, more her god. of how she wanted to feel chosen, even if it meant doom. She screamed. She cried. She bled at the base of the tree. And then, she laughed. "You will never own me again," she said. And the tree cracked. The leaf turned black and crumbled. The bark began to hiss, bubbling like boiling water. From the base of the tree, a deep rumble echoed, the voice of Xanaroth, now weak, now afraid. "No, no. I am the gate, the fruit, the cycle." Akanni stood tall. "You were never a god. Just a story that refused to end." She drove a ceremonial dagger into the root with the force of generations. The forest shook, the sky darkened, and the tree exploded into ash. Akanni returned to the village. She never bore children again. Instead, she became the keeper of roots, the first woman to break a divine cycle. The spiral on her arms faded completely. The forest regrew over the ruined clearing. The birds returned. The wind returned. But one part of the tree remained, its black seed, encased in stone, locked in Mojireo's shrine. A warning. Lesson. Some stories do not end with peace. They end with wisdom. Akanni was never just a woman who ate the fruit. She was the one who dared to confront what grew from it. And in doing so, she rewrote the story of her blood. But remember, child, even when a tree is felled, its roots still remember.